election of our lifetime? Probably so. I mean, it's pretty dramatic. We were talking before the program, Benny and I, the new video that Kamala Harris released. I mean, this wasn't her making a odd comment to the press. This was a video that she narrated, that she produced or had somebody produce it for her, but it's promoting communism. It's unbelievable.
It definitely is. It's what we've been talking about for a long time. You know, the entire election cycle, we've been talking about the new Democratic Party.
Right.
Well, she released it today. Yep. I'm wondering to see if what kind of movement we get on that now that.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. She releases it at the last moment. Did they release it because they are confident? Did they release it because they're not so confident and they want to get the progressives out there to vote? Perhaps they haven't. I guess if there's a theme of today's program, it is there's a lot of hedging of bets on with the headlines I read by the Democrats. And I know you've been a little bit more doubtful. I've been a little bit more enthusiastic. One of the questions out today is, will we know tomorrow night? Some people on the Trump side are saying, yeah, we'll know. And those on the Biden side, no, there's no way we're going to know by tomorrow night. It's interesting, though. One of the things that was curious is Zogby came out, and I think I was just looking for the numbers here, but I think he gave Biden like a 6-point lead. And yet, his final poll, national. Now this was national, and again, you got to win the right states. But nationally, he said Biden had a 6-point lead, and then he said, but Donald Trump could win. Now, is that someone just hedging their bets, trying to say, I don't have much confidence in my own polling?
I think that's exactly what it says. But as we talked about last week, if the polling gets it completely wrong this time, I think their business is in jeopardy of being over.
Well, it might be, but it seems to me that they should have been done and out of here a long time ago. And again, every time we report on the polling, whether it's good or bad, we always put a little bit, okay, take it with a grain of salt, because traditionally it's been bad. The polls that got it right last time, though, they are primarily the ones that are coming out and saying they think Donald Trump is going to win. The Des Moines Register, and this is not any of the big national ones. This was a Iowa pollster. What was her name? J. Ann Seltzer, I guess is how you pronounce it. Selzer, president of Selzer and Company. They do polling in Iowa. They have come out and said Donald Trump has taken over the lead in Iowa. Vice President Joe Biden has faded, and this was published by, and I guess the Des Moines Register paid for this poll. The president now leads in Iowa by 7 percentage points, 48 to 41%. That's a landslide.
Yeah.
They also said that Joni Ernst is now leading Teresa Greenfield 46 to 42%. That's a pretty safe margin if that holds up. Because Joni Ernst was one of the Senate seats that a lot of people saying this is one of the seats that the Republicans are going to lose.
Yeah, most have been saying that's blue all along, Joni Ernst. So that's kind of big. I can't see her winning that Senate seat and Donald Trump losing.
If Donald Trump does prevail by 7 percentage points, Joni Ernst is going to sleep a lot better tonight. Town Hall has gone into a little more detail. Now, these other pollsters, Trafalgar, and what's the other one? The other one is Poll Watch. And again, these are a couple of the ones that got it right. Larry Schweikart and David Chapman of Poll Watch. And again, Robert Cahaly of Trafalgar. They have come out and saying Trafalgar in North Carolina, they say that Trump is up by 2 percentage points, 2.1%. Now, I know there's a lot of other polls. And again, that's within the margin of error. And there's some other polls out. ECU's new poll out. I think there was about the same margin of error in the other direction with Biden up. But they've got Donald Trump at 48.6, Joe Biden at 46.5. In Pennsylvania, Poll Watch has got Trump at 48.7, Biden at 47.4. In Wisconsin, they have Trump up by 1.1%, Trump at 49.6, Biden at 48.5. But here's what's really interesting. Donald Trump, black vote in Wisconsin, 17%.
Wow.
Donald Trump's Hispanic vote in Wisconsin, 41%. Taking a look at, again, this is Poll Watch. They're the ones that did pretty good last time. They've got in Florida, Trump 49%, Biden 45%. If that holds 4 percentage points, it might be a red wave. Minnesota. You betcha. Minnesota. Donald Trump 48%, Joe Biden 46%. New Hampshire. Donald Trump 47, Biden 43. Wow. Here's another interesting thing to note. Down in Florida, the Dems have led in early voting over the Republicans by 95,130 early votes, which is, okay, you say that's a lot. It's actually about what's more than 1,000 votes less than in 2016 when Hillary Clinton lost. In 2016, Dems were leading by 96,400 votes. Again, now they're leading by 95,130. And in 2016, Trump won by 113,000 votes. Maybe this is subjective, but another cover your butt moment by the mainstream media. And we said weeks ago, the closer we get to the election, you're going to see the polls tighten up for two reasons. I think they actually do tighten up, but the other reason is because these media outlets are covering their butts. Well, CBS is covering its butt. They have now come out with a Republican surge scenario 24 hours before Election Day. What if? What if there was this surge? Well, why would you bring it up if you don't think it's a possibility? This is CBS, under their Republican surge scenario, Donald Trump with 279, Joe Biden with 259.
Well, one thing for sure, voters are turning out in record numbers to this point so far nationwide, and probably not since 2008. Obviously 2016 they missed it with Donald Trump winning, but 2008. Shattered the voter turnout records, and it really the polling was hard to predict because of just how much people turned out for President Obama the first time. And I think this time, when they look back at the data, they're going to say, "Well, we didn't plan on this, we didn't plan on that, we didn't plan." I don't think it's going to be an atypical election, and the voter turnout. I mean, it's proven it so far. If tomorrow is if it's a record turnout tomorrow on voting day, the voter stats will be blown away.
Well, I vote in beautiful downtown Falkland, and I usually am one of the first ones there. Not always the first one, but my wife works there, so I'm up early because she's got to be there at some pre-dawn hour. Set up the poll. But usually I'm pretty early. But by 8 o'clock is this going to be a slam full day.
And you mentioned Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Wisconsin may hold the key to me of election night if we really, think Trump's going to win. Because they have been. That's been one that's been kind of a toss up. Wisconsin, Georgia. I'm still worried about Georgia, but Wisconsin. I think if with those numbers you just mentioned on Wisconsin, to me that's good news. With Trump going in on election night, late on election night, where he said, "You know what? We may not need Pennsylvania."
Yeah, here's another great question for you, though. Why did Obama and Biden go up to Michigan this weekend? I mean, if that's in their pocket, if that's a sure blue state, why'd they go there?
I would think. I guess the governor there. She may. she may say, get here. Don't do what Hillary Clinton did in 2016. Get here. You still got a chance. But all the polls have shown that Michigan's getting tighter and tighter. So, but it's a must. It's a must for Trump to win.
Here's another interesting little tidbit. James Clyburn, the congressman from South Carolina, African American black congressman, he was the one that really got Joe Biden over the top. I mean, that was, if it hadn't been for South Carolina and James Clyburn, Joe Biden wouldn't be the nominee. Okay. Well, before we get to James Clyburn, Hershel Walker is on the phone with us. Hershel is he's not only prompt, he's a little early, but hey, this is great. Hershel, welcome back in. We had Hershel on last week. I don't think you were here the day we had him on.
No, I wasn't.
I wasn't either.
Bennie is here, and our producer, Clark, is here, Hershel. But we got to talk to you last week about the Heisman Trophy, University of Georgia, Minnesota Vikings, Philadelphia Eagles, New York Giants, bobsledding, and then we ran out of time. So, Hershel, welcome back to News and Views. Good to have you with us.
No, thank you for having me back. I tell you what, this is an honor to have me back and an honor for me to come on.
Well, we were just talking, Bennie and I were just talking. There is a new poll out by Poll Watch, and in the state of Wisconsin, they have, this just came out over the weekend, they have Donald Trump's black vote at 17%. Now, granted, that means, okay, that could potentially be 83% for Joe Biden, but for a Republican, that is just hitting it out of the park. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I think it's going to be higher than that. I think it's going to be higher than that because I think it's the same as with the white vote right now. A lot of people are not going to tell someone how they're going to vote because of the reprisal that they may get. You know, for a black person to tell you that they're going to vote for Donald Trump, they're going to be ridiculed, they're going to be put down, they're going to be called names, the same as what happened to a white person. That's why I say if I were people now, I would not trust the polls. I don't think the polls can give you a correct answer. But I think that people of color are starting to wake up. I think they're starting to wake up and to see that the policy of this president here fits what they're talking about.
It's interesting because over the weekend there was a story by NBC and Fox News was interviewing James Clyburn. We were just getting ready to play that audio when we found out you were on the line. So we'll play that for our listeners a little bit. But in both cases, it appeared that the James Clyburn and NBC News with a pastor, in fact, out of Texas, they were talking about the fact that, perhaps there is some voter suppression going on, and that's why so many people, it's not that they want to vote for Donald Trump, but there's some sort of voter hanky-panky voter suppression going on.
That is so ridiculous, and I think it's insulting.
Yep.
It's almost that they're looking at it for an excuse why they lost or what's going to happen. I think what they need to be talking about, to be honest with you, because you remember years ago, you used to just go and vote. You didn't have all these lawyers of voter suppression and this and that.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I heard Mr. Clyburn say he had professional athletes that can't get to the polls
Yes,
and this and that.
that's the clip. That's the clip.
Professional athletes off on Tuesdays. Tuesdays are their day off. If they got to get to the polls, they can get to the polls. You know, I think it's sad that right now we have all these other laws that they're creating to try to create new laws to get people to vote. Well, you know what? Make it simple. Make the rules simple. You cannot keep changing the rules in the middle of the game. It's sort of like I'm going to play tennis, but I got to hit the balls within the lines. You can hit the ball wherever you want to go. So when you start complaining that voter suppression, this and that, because right now you're thinking that you're going to lose, so you're already coming up with an excuse. Well, I want to ask Mr. Clyburn a very serious question. He has been in office for a long time. And, you know, you've talked about this systemic racism. Why has he not changed anything?
Yeah.
You know, he had a chance to change things, to change a lot of things. He's been in office, since the 90s?
He's been a long time. Yep.
Yeah, so, I'm tired of hearing people complain all the time. Right now. And then, you see people boarding up buildings today, Who's boarding them up? Democratic people? Well, why are we not saying, you know what? Put a law out there right now that if you're going to destroy a building, you're going to jail. There's no time. You're going to serve time in jail, 3 years. You get 3 years in jail. If you destroy a building, you throw something at a police officer, this is a chance for you to vote. Everybody get a chance to vote. But we ain't going to say, oh, I got to let you drive 300 miles to vote. I got to let you do it. No, you get a chance to vote just like everyone else. That's the way it is. Don't keep changing the laws to fit someone else or try to cheat. And I want to say it, try to cheat to win the election. That's not fair to America.
Hershel, when are you going to run for office? I love this.
No, I'm not going to run. I just want people.
I'd say get them on the ballot.
That's what is so funny. This is common sense that right now, it started in Atlanta with Stacey Abrams with the voter suppression and this and that and all this stuff. And like, guys, people go and vote. Why we can't just go and vote? Go and vote, and if you can't vote, you get an absentee. When you start talking about dropping off, start talking about this. And you know what? If anyone caught trying to change this election, they need to get federal time and really punish them for doing it.
Absolutely.
Unless you have rules and you have laws, people are going to keep doing this here.
Why?
You have to lay down the law. I tell people this. I said, as a little kid, I got a spanking, and a lot of people don't agree with that. I said, yeah, but you know what? A spanking kept me out of jail.
Yep.
And a spanking kept me to say yes, sir, and no, sir. A spanking taught me discipline. It taught me respect for others, not to take anyone else's stuff. And I said, and it wasn't that it was bad, but it taught me respect. But right now, I think this country is starting to lose respect because we got so much freedom. So now we want to call this, we want to say this and complain about this and complain about that, and we try to sue everybody. Well, you can't do it. These leaders have to take control. They have to take control of their cities. And if they don't do it, the Democratic leaders, they don't do it, they need to be punished. Right now, you're supposed to protect your citizens. If you're not going to do it, you need to be punished and get out of office. That's the way it should be. And I said, people got to stop complaining and know that this is the greatest country in the world. But just because you're the greatest in the world doesn't mean that we're going to sit here and cater to every need everybody have. You know what's so amazing to me? I get calls every day that people want to talk to the president. It's like the president is somebody that just pick up the call and talk to every Tom, Dick, and Harry over the phone. And I laugh. But what's so strange about it, this president does try to talk to everybody.
Yeah.
That's what's so amazing.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, how many 5 rallies yesterday? How many is he today? He was down in Fayetteville today. We're talking to Hershel Walker. And Hershel, let me ask you, why would James Clyburn, at the 11th hour, the day before the election, why is he backpedaling now and trying to make excuses? I mean, is this potentially
because they may have sneaked in and saw that right now, where normally the send-in voting is not looking like they supposed to look, like they're not getting the response they're supposed to get, and normally the Republican shows up to vote in person, he may now be getting nervous. And it's like, guys, right now, let's do this the right way. It is sad that unless we get the leaders in office that's going to take control, and it's going to be tough. Being a leader is going to be tough. Sometimes you got to punish people, but you got to get them to understand that this is a country that is going to be for law and order. It's not a country for you to do whatever you want to do. No, we have law and order and we have rules. So until you get leaders in Washington that are going to do that, we're going to continue to have all this chaos in this country.
Amen.
Hey, Hershel, this is Bennie. My wife and I watched the Republican National Convention, and my wife she doesn't follow politics except for listening to me rant and rave about them sometimes, and she's not a big football fan other than she knew who you were but couldn't tell you who you played for. But today she told me that she said, I can't tell you who spoke at the Republican National Convention except for Hershel Walker because he spoke from the heart. And one thing I remember you said, I wrote it down, you said, I've seen racism, and is it Donald Trump? Could you talk about Donald Trump's relationship that you guys had for 37 years, I believe you said?
Yes, you know what was strange? When I met Donald for the very first time, he brought my wife and up to his office. We talked about football for about an hour, and the next thing I knew, he wanted to go to dinner. And the next night, his family and my family went to dinner. And from then on, our families were doing things together. And during the summer, his kids started traveling with my family. And every now and then, Donald and his wife would come on a trip with us or whatever we were doing. Well, we've been friends ever since. And what's strange about it is I know this man's heart. You know, he says a lot of things because he's tough. The Donald's going to fight for you. But at the same time, he loves America, and he's going to fight for America. But I know he's not a racist. I've seen racism. I know what racism is. And I think they said racism to people just to get them quiet. You know, you said you call someone a racist, you get them quiet. That's what I think they've done to a lot of people, to the white people. They call you a racist if you speak out right now, so they don't want you to say anything. They don't want you to tell the truth. And my thing is, guys, I'm going to tell the truth because I love the Lord Jesus Christ. And I tell you, we're in this country together. The reason we're the greatest country in the world is we're a melting pot of a lot of great races that God has put together, and that's the reason we can do this. And it's not, and it just, we can't just continue to call someone a racist. It's just that they can't say anything. We have that freedom to speak. And I want the whites, I want the blacks, I want the Hispanics, I want the Italian, I want every color to speak tomorrow at the voting booth and let the Democratic Party know that this country is not for sale. We're not going to sell it away. We're going to get things back in order, put law and order back in order, and we're going to show them that this is America.
Hershel, I know because I've heard it over and over again, and you live it. You are a devout follower of Jesus Christ. He's your Lord and Savior. And we praise the Lord for the work He's done in your life. Let's talk about that, though, in the sense that ultimately, well, first of all, let me ask you this. In terms of the policies that Donald Trump has passed, and he made a lot of promises, and in my way of thinking, of all the presidents in my lifetime, he's fulfilled more of those campaign promises than anybody I can think of. But he has done a lot. And people look at him and say, he had some things in the past and he's caustic. And yet he has done so many things that evangelical Christians ought to be just, jumping up and down with excitement because he has just embraced the Christian issues that are so important to many of us.
Well, and that's what I want people to see, and not to be mean, but I say a lot of your mainstream media is not going to show that.
Right.
When I started talking about, I said one of the main things that really bothered me more than anything was when I was watching the Democratic convention, and they started taking God out of certain things. They took him out of their Pledge of Allegiance.
Yep.
I saw them taking God out of things, and I said at that time, if you're not going to let God into your house, that's a house I don't want to go in. And I said, Donald Trump will talk about God. He will bring God in the house. And no matter what, as long as God is there, he can change things. And that's what I say to the American people. As long as you got your faith, I love the Lord Jesus Christ. I'm not sure what anyone else believe in, but for me, it's the Lord Jesus Christ. And when you have your faith, you have a foundation. And when you have a foundation, you can build your home. With no foundation, you have nothing. It's not going to be a stable home, and that's what I keep telling people.
Have you ever had a chance to talk to the president about your Christian faith?
Oh, yeah, Donald knows my Christian faith. Yeah, he knows it very well. Because, but this is what's strange. We've talked a lot, and that's what people didn't know about it, and that's what I try to tell someone as well. Donald Trump, not one time as we've been talking, and we've been friends for over 38 years, not one time did he ask me to come out and speak for him. Not one time did his campaign ask me to come speak for him. I was his black friend, but not one time did he ask me to come speak for him. I volunteered to do it because then I said, that's what you call a true friend. That's what you call a true friend, not someone that, I'm your friend, I need a black guy to speak for me. No, he didn't ask me. His kids didn't even ask me. And I said, guys, that's what a true friend is right there. Are
you surprised, or is it divine intervention with the number of strong Christians that are around the president? I mean, Mike Pence is a good example, but Kayleigh McEnany and so many other devout Christians are in this administration.
Well, Savannah, I am surprised. I'm excited because, they have prayer meetings. They pray over this president. And I said,
right.
Guys, that's important, because we all need prayer. And I don't want to get back on Joe Biden, but you hear Joe Biden's always saying, let's go to the science. Has he ever said, let's go to God, let's pray?
That's a good question.
Let's go to the science. Different scientists say different things. Different doctors say different things. This virus is something a lot of people don't know about it. Look at the other countries right now having another problem with it. But then what about going to God? What about going to prayer together as a country? Let's go to prayer, and I guarantee you we can solve this thing.
To that end, how important, what we see the president doing is fantastic, and we're loving it. But ultimately, do we need another great awakening, another real spiritual movement in this country? And do you see that on the horizon?
We do need that. We need that because I want people to know this. Any preacher out there that is preaching separation is not preaching from the Bible, because God talks about togetherness. Any preacher out there that's not preaching forgiveness is not from the Bible, because God talks about how can you ask me to forgive you if I can't forgive my fellow man.
Right.
So if we're going to keep going back to the past, trying to live the past, that's when there's a problem. guys, we got to go to the future. And the future right now holds on Donald Trump because right now, I don't want to be shut down. Right now, I don't want my right to speak. I don't want my right to not to have a gun. I don't want my right my religion taken away. You know, the Democratic Party is talking about dabbling with the Constitution of the United States of America. Now, that gets dangerous when you start talking about doing things like that.
Absolutely. Hershel, question for you. I've seen you in a few interviews and some in the print media, but have you, has the mainstream media that you mentioned, has any of those guys requested you come on and talk about your relationship with Donald Trump?
You know, I've had some that come on and ask me, and some that have been very supportive. I've had some that have been very agitational, but as you said early on, when you ask them to give me an example, they can't. And most people are not going to come on and ask me. And the reason why, they know I'm honest. You know, I'm not paid by this administration. I'm not paid anything. The only thing I have is the truth for America, that I love America. America gave me a great, great life. They've given a lot of other people great lives, and they can continue to do that. So we got to vote for America. It's got nothing to do with president. Got to vote for America. And it just so happened this president here, Donald Trump, is for America.
Well, it sounds like we need to have Hershel Walker for Georgia. You need to get on ballot down there in Georgia.
Are you? Where do you live now? Are you in Texas or are you in Georgia?
Yeah, I live in Texas.
Okay.
It's funny. I've been very fortunate that I created a company all over the country. But I will tell you this. You know, I'm in North Carolina a lot. You know, I'm in Random, North Carolina. I work with the Kyle Petty and Richard Petty.
Yeah,
they have the junction there in Random, North Carolina, with the chronically ill kids. So I've been working with them for about 15 years. So the North Carolina is something I'm doing, and that's one thing that we're forgetting about people. All the charities out there that are suffering right now, you know, with this pandemic and everything going on, that there's a lot of charities out there that are suffering, that we got to remember those people and continue to pray for them.
Amen. Hershel, we got to let you go, but what's your prediction for tomorrow?
I predict there's going to be a red wave. I really think America is waking up. I think they're waking up, and you know what's strange about it? They're going to wake up, and then one of the things I'm going to say, when Donald Trump wins this, I'm gonna preach it. That guys, let's come together. I want the Democrat, I want the Republicans to sit down and come together. I'm gonna be on the TV or the radio telling them, let's come together, let's get this going, let's quit this separation.
Well, keep our line, keep our number, because we'll have you on whenever you want to talk about it, brother.
All right, then.
Thank you, Hershel.
Thank you guys so much.
Hershel Walker calling in from Texas. Stay with us. Benny and I'll be right back.
time.
About time.
You see what's happening?
We can do anything.
These people are crazy.
Final days.
We're going to have a tremendous victory.
Let's get real.
There's something happening. You're going to see
We're going to
that.
change the course of the country.
You're going to have a big surprise.
And quite frankly, the world.
Great
Folks,
red wave.
we have to vote.
Take back the
And
House.
hope because I'm coming.
Hold the Senate.
Folks, it's go time.
The White House. To 4 more incredible years.
With Tom Lamprecht on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
Welcome back in, and it is the eve before Election Day. 24 days until Thanksgiving. How many shopping days until Christmas? Where did the year go?
I don't know. I don't know if Governor Cooper will let us shop for Christmas this year.
That's
I don't know.
probably true. I didn't think of that. You're right. The truth of the matter is, for some people, a lot of people can relate to this. 2020 can't get over soon enough. Taking a look at your weather forecast tonight, it is, I guess, a chance of frost. Clear, low around 31. Get out the long johns and the extra electric blanket. Tuesday, sunny, the high near 61. And Wednesday, a little warmer, 66. By the end of the week, we're supposed to be back into the 70s. So
That's North Carolina weather for you.
hopefully this is winter, right? This is winter and we'll be over. Maybe? No? Okay. So we're talking to Hershel Walker about James Clyburn. And I started to play this clip, actually, and then he called in a little early, so we dropped the clip and went to Hershel. So James Clyburn, this is cut one, Clark. James Clyburn really, I think, revealed, again, they're covering their butts, revealed that the Dems are not nearly as confident as the polls would proclaim. Here is James Clyburn last night on Fox News.
It's a close race. It's all about turnout at this point. I suspect that we'll find out in 48 hours how successful these suppression tactics have been. That is the one concern that I have. The only way, in my opinion, for Joe Biden not to be successful on Tuesday is for voter suppression to be successful. I've had complaints all day today. Professional football players from our home state cannot vote because their ballots have not been delivered to them. They can't come home to vote because they're sort of in lockdown because of COVID-19. They are not being allowed to come home to vote. And so I already know some Biden voters here in South Carolina are not going to be allowed to vote simply because the Postal Service has been undercut by the Postmaster General. And I just hope that when this campaign is over, that there will be some serious discussions and some serious action taken to insulate the voting process from the whims of any one person. That includes the President of the United States.
That does not sound like the response from someone who's their candidate 7 points ahead.
No, it doesn't. And speaking of the Postal Service, I'll give you some information from the Postal Service.
Yeah.
I won't say where, but it is official information of what procedures are being done. The postmaster in each location is getting the ballots from the carriers, and they will postmark them as soon as they get them in the office, so they know what that they came in by election day. And then I also heard that they have not been told what to do for ballots they get in after that time.
Well, if it's not postmarked by midnight tomorrow night.
Yeah, but I'd like some control of those things, because I'd hate for them to show up somewhere and all of a sudden they get a postmark.
Is it? I mean, that's be a good question. Is it possible that you can postmark something after midnight on the 3rd? That you can go back and.
I wouldn't think you'd be able to, but I mean, who controls the meters in the various post offices?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a flip of a dial, and you can back it up to the 3rd, or.
And I have talked to some people that work for the Postal Service, and what Senator Clyburn said then, or excuse me, Representative Clyburn said then, the Postal Service, they're getting instructions that voting is priority right now, so they are focusing on it.
Believe it or not, we got to take another break. We had Hershel Walker on for a long time, and he came in early, so we're playing catch up on our break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The 2020 Marathon.
We will finish what we started.
Now a sprint to election night.
But only one person's going to win.
When they cross the finish line,
We have all night long, right?
that's anybody's guess.
Pandemic challenges.
Mail ballots take longer to count.
Count on us to cover every step.
And I will be your champion.
The night of, the morning after, and the days to follow. Run with your election headquarters.
And there's no place better.
This is News and Views with Tom Lamprecht on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
Welcome back in. Kamala Harris was out campaigning today. This is Cut 4 Clark. And she said, well, Donald Trump, he has to sow discord because he has nothing to run on.
I honestly believe that he's doing it to distract from the fact that he actually has no record to run on. I've said this many times. We have witnessed the greatest failure of any presidential administration in the history of America. And so he wants to scare people, he wants to distract people, confuse people, but you know what? He doesn't understand that the American people are smarter than that.
I don't think you understand that the American people are smarter than that.
I think the American people are smarter than that. I just hope enough of them are.
But, I mean, of all the things to say, I mean, you can say, I disagree with his policies, but to say he has nothing to run on? I mean, as we were talking about with Hershel, this guy has done more than any other president. I'm 66 years old. Any other president in my lifetime. This guy has fulfilled more promises than any other president that I could think of. I mean, when Eisenhower was in the White House, I didn't follow it real close. But, I mean, the right to life issue, he has, reinstated the Mexico City policy. He has taken extensive steps to dismantle Title X. He's doing everything he can do to defund Planned Parenthood. He has discontinued funding the United Nations Population Fund because they were supporting abortion. When it came to Israel, he moved the embassy. He recognized Jerusalem as the undivided capital of Israel. Judicial appointments. I mean, he did exactly. Remember, he had that list. That's really probably what got him over the top the first time, and he has fulfilled his promises in regards to the lower courts, but certainly the Supreme Court. 3 Supreme Court nominees that got in there. Religious freedom, tax reform, the economy. I mean, prior and even since COVID, I mean, when you stop and consider how hard the Democrats have wanted to shut down our country, that the governor has wanted to shut down our state, and yet despite that, and with COVID, the economy is coming back. But I mean, prior to the economy, historic lows for women, for blacks, for Hispanics. I mean, Donald Trump came in. Obama said, "What? You got a magic wand? You're gonna reintroduce manufacturing jobs? That's never going to happen. You're going to get the unemployment down to 3%. That's never going to happen. You got a magic wand?" Apparently, he did.
Famous person once said, "Weak points speak louder." I can't remember who that was, but also with the Democrats, weak point. Call someone a racist, and that's pretty much
that's exactly what Hershel was saying.
That's what he was saying, and from day one, that has been their strategy. Is Donald Trump is a racist,
this guy,
vilify, talk about his COVID failures. Well, I think Donald Trump's biggest failure from a COVID standpoint is really his messaging. I think his messaging has been wrong, but if you look at the actions of his administration, his officials, I don't know how you can argue with it. I mean, are we going to take out every leader in the world because no one's been successful at COVID? And Joe Biden says that he's going to attack the virus.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
He doesn't know what it means.
But I mean, isn't it interesting also? And it's you talk about he can be direct and caustic and abrasive in how he deals with some issues. That's why he's a winner.
Yeah.
I mean, people say, "Well, I wish he wasn't so abrasive and upfront and in your face." He's a winner. I mean, and look, I'm not saying, win at all costs and destroy your enemies. But when you try to separate his attack dog model, you got to remember, you got to be an attack dog if you're going to get anything done in draining the swamp.
Yeah, and recently, I've heard some people that are, at best middle of the road, but they're really left-leaning that have actually made some comments, and you won't see it much in the mainstream media. You'll see some obscure passage about it, but his foreign policy accomplishments are unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. Isn't it interesting how the war on terrorism which when Obama was in the White House, every night, the lead story was the war on terrorism and how we were getting our butts kicked and how many people had died and how many car bombs had gone off. And, we can't, how often under Democratic presidents did we let the bad guys get away? And suddenly it's not like there has been a big applause for what Donald Trump has done. But the war on terrorism, I realize it's still there because it's going to be a battle that will go on as long as there are terrorists in this country, as long as there's jihadists in the world. But yet it's not on the front page anymore. It's not the headline in the news because, you know what? He's wrapped it up for the most part. Hey, we got to take another timeout. Stay with us and we'll be right back.
This is your Drive at 5, an ENC with Tom Lamprecht. Welcome back to News and Views on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
The Daily Wire is reporting apparently the Biden political operatives have already been distributing talking points and research to delegitimize Election Day results by coaching surrogates to refer to the president's Election Day success as a red mirage. The operatives are advising surrogates and the media to create a smokescreen by casting blame all around, imagining postal delays, which is already what James Clyburn has been saying, or falsely claiming that mail-in ballots that have simply not been returned should be considered legitimate votes, that they need to be counted. And you're going to hear it again. You know, they go around screaming disenfranchisement when we want a secure election. Mm-hmm. And the thing that you got to remember is without rules, without some security of right and wrong, and as Hershel Walker said, get out and vote. You've got every opportunity to go vote legitimately, but they want to vote illegitimately. They want to have their election day vote, their absentee vote, their pre-election vote, but they also now want to have their post-election vote. It doesn't work that way.
Somebody yelled at me on Twitter because they said they had to work a double that day. Of all days in 4 years, less than 4 years, I said, you have to work a double on the most important day. It doesn't quite make sense if you have 4 years to get that day off.
But look how long we've had to early vote. If someone waits to the last minute,
shame on them.
And to mail their ballot in now at the last minute, that's ridiculous.
You're looking for a reason to whine.
Yeah.
Let's end today, the eve of Election Day, with some classic Joe Biden. Joe Biden said back in 2018, I'm a gaffe machine. Indeed, he is. Cut 2.
Why am I doing this? Why? What is my real aim? Barack and I think it's a right for people to have bad health care. I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure. I'm running as a proud Democrat for the Senate. You may remember I got in trouble when we were running against the senator who was a Mormon, the governor, okay? And I took him on.
What kind of country we're going to be? 4 more years of Georgia, he's going to find ourselves in a position where we're going to be in a different world.
Why am I doing this?
That's a good question. Donald Trump thinks health care is a privilege. Barack and I think it's a right to have better care. That's not it, though. He also has some trouble with numbers. Cut 3.
Secondly, we're in a situation where we have put together, and you guys did it for our the President Obama's administration before this. We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
If Donald Trump has his way, the complications from COVID-19, which are well beyond what they should be. It's estimated that 200 million people have died, probably by